There have been moments, my child, in the deepest, darkest passage of your trial, when you have cried out my name and have been met with what has felt like an absolute, deafening, and terrifying silence. You have looked for my hand in your circumstances and have seen only chaos, confusion, and pain. And in these moments, a chilling and agonizing thought has taken root in your heart, a belief more painful than any other suffering, the belief that I have left you. You have felt forsaken, abandoned by your God, an orphan in a cold and fatherless universe. This, my beloved, is the ultimate agony of the soul, the most profound desolation a human heart can know. I have seen you in this place of perceived abandonment, and my own heart has ached with a perfect empathy for your pain. But I must come to you now, my voice the very antithesis of that silence, my presence the ultimate refutation of that void, to speak the most fundamental, unshakable, and eternal truth of our relationship. I have never left you. Not for a moment, not for a breath, not then, not now, not ever. I know the anatomy of this perceived absence. It is a pain that hollows you out from the inside, that steals the very air from your lungs. It begins, perhaps, with the silence of heaven. You have prayed with all the faith you could muster. You have poured out your heart, your tears, your desperate pleas, and they have seemed to rise into an empty, unresponsive expanse, like smoke dissipating into a vast, indifferent sky. There has been no answer, no sign, no feeling of my comfort, and the silence, my child, can be interpreted by a hurting heart as rejection, as indifference, as proof that no one is listening. You have felt like a child crying in an empty house, your own voice the only sound, a sound that only serves to amplify the profound and terrifying emptiness of the space around you. This feeling is then compounded by the contradiction of your circumstances. You have looked at the pain, the injustice, the relentless struggle in your life, and your heart has reasoned. If a loving God were truly with me, this would not be happening. This chaos, this suffering, is the very proof of his absence. This is a logical, human conclusion, and I do not fault you for it. It feels as though the evidence of your senses, the reality of your suffering, stands in stark and irrefutable opposition to the promise of my loving presence. The apparent victory of darkness in your life has felt like the undeniable proof of my retreat, my defeat, or my non-existence. And this leads to the ultimate spiritual terror, the feeling of divine abandonment. This is a loneliness that transcends all other forms of loneliness. To be abandoned by a human friend is a deep wound, but to believe you have been abandoned by the very source of your being, by the one you have placed your ultimate trust in, by the God you have loved and served, this is an abyss of despair so profound that it can threaten the very foundations of your sanity. It is to feel spiritually orphaned, cast adrift in a meaningless cosmos, with no anchor, no harbor, no home. You have known the chill of this abyss. My child, you have felt its crushing weight, and I have been with you in it. My heart breaking at the pain this terrible illusion has caused you. In this state of perceived forsakenness, your faith itself begins to erode. The promises I have made, which once felt like a solid rock beneath your feet, now seem like crumbling sand. The truths you once held dear now sound like hollow platitudes. You begin to question everything: my goodness, my power, my love for you. The enemy of your soul delights in this season, whispering his insidious lies into your wounded heart. See, he has left you. He was never really there. your faith was a fool's dream. And in the silence, in the darkness, in the face of your overwhelming pain, these lies can begin to sound like the truth. I have seen it all, my beloved. I have witnessed every moment of this agonizing experience. I have seen you strain to hear a voice in the silence. I have seen you search for a light in the darkness. I have seen your faith tremble, your hope falter, your heart break under the perceived weight of my absence. And I want to wrap you now in the truth of my being, a truth that is more real than any feeling you have ever had, more certain than any circumstance you have ever faced. My presence is not a feeling that comes and goes. It is an eternal, ontological fact. I am the very ground of all existence, the sustaining life within all life. You can no more be separate from me than a wave can be separate from the ocean. Your very being is a testament to my presence, for you exist within me, and I exist within you. The feeling of my absence, however real and powerful it has been a profound illusion, a temporary blindness of the soul caused by the smoke of your fiery trial. When you cried out into the silence, you were not crying into a void. You were crying out from within the very heart of my being. And I heard you with a perfect, intimate clarity when you felt crushed by your circumstances. You were not being abandoned to them. You were being held within them by my sustaining, though unseen, power. When you felt utterly alone, you were, in fact, in a state of the most profound, though unrecognized, intimacy with me, stripped of all other dependencies, with only the reality of your spirit and mine remaining. This is a mystery. I know. It is a truth that your mind, which relies on sensory evidence, may struggle to accept, but it is the eternal truth nonetheless. I have never left you. I cannot leave you. It is against my very nature, for you are my child, a part of my own heart, a thought in my own mind. For me to leave you would be for me to dismember myself, to deny my own being, the agony of my apparent absence. As painful as it has been, has served a sacred purpose. It has been a profound, if severe, invitation. It has invited you to move beyond a faith that is dependent on feelings and circumstances, into a faith that is rooted in the unshakable reality of my character. It has created within you a hunger so deep, a thirst so profound for my presence, that when you do begin to perceive it anew, you will cherish it, you will protect it, you will abide in it, in a way you never would have before. It has been a painful stripping away of all lesser securities, so that you might discover that I, your God, am your one, true, and all-sufficient security. Let this truth begin to heal the deepest wound of all, the wound of feeling forsaken by me. You have not been forsaken. You have not been abandoned. You have only been in a storm so great, a night so dark, that you could not feel the hand that has been holding you all along. But I tell you, with all the love and all the authority of your Creator, I have never let go. I have been with you in the agony. I have been with you in the silence. I have been with you in the fear. I have never, ever left you. The pain you felt was real, but your interpretation of that pain, that it meant I was gone, was the great deception. I am the God who is famous for hiding his presence in the most unlikely of places, in a whisper, in a manger, in a tomb. And yes, my child, in the very heart of your own suffering. My presence is not always a shout. Often it is a silence so profound it can only be understood by a heart that has been completely stilled by its own trial. You looked for a rescue from without, but my presence was a fortress from within. You looked for an external sign, but the very fact of your own endurance, your ability to survive the unsurvivable, was the greatest sign of all, a testament to my hidden, sustaining power at work in your very being. Let go now of the story of your abandonment. It is a false story. Replace it with the true one. Your story is not one of a child forsaken by their father. It is the story of a child who walked through the deepest darkness, believing themselves to be alone, only to discover, in the end, that their father was walking beside them, closer than their own shadow, every single step of the way. This is the beginning of your healing. My child, not the healing of the circumstance, but the healing of your perception of me. And this is the most important healing of all, for when you know, with an unshakable certainty, that I have never left you, then no future darkness, no future trial, no future silence can ever again plunge you into that same abyss of spiritual terror. You will know the truth, and that truth will set you free. The truth is this: I have never left you, and I will never leave you. The agony was in the belief of my absence. The peace is in the knowing of my presence. I am inviting you now, out of the agony and into the peace. This does not require your circumstances to change. It requires your perception to change. It requires you to choose to believe my word over your feelings, my truth over your experience. This is the great act of faith to which you are now called, to look back on your deepest pain and to say, even there, you were with me. To look at your present challenges and to say, even here, you are with me. And to look towards an unknown future and to say, even there, you will be with me. This is the faith that honors me, the faith that heals you, the faith that transforms your entire life from a story of potential abandonment into a story of eternal, unbreakable companionship. I have never left you. My child, it is the most fundamental promise of my heart to yours. My precious child, having sat with you in the agonizing memory of my apparent absence, having affirmed the profound spiritual terror of a soul that believes itself to be forsaken by its God, I must now anchor you in a truth so fundamental, so absolute, that it forms the very bedrock of all creation. You have believed it was possible for me to leave you. You have interpreted your painful circumstances, your unanswered prayers, your spiritual darkness as evidence of my departure. But this belief, my beloved, while born of a very real pain, is rooted in a profound misunderstanding of who I am, of who you are, and of the very nature of our eternal relationship. For my presence with you is not a feeling that can fade, nor a circumstance that can change. It is an eternal, ontological, and unbreakable reality. And I tell you with all the authority of my being, for me to leave you would be a metaphysical impossibility, a denial of my own nature, a contradiction of the very fabric of existence. I have never left you because I cannot leave you. You have thought of my presence as something akin to a human presence, a visitor who can enter a room and then depart, a companion who can walk with you for a season and then choose a different path. You have believed that our connection is a fragile thing, a bond that could be broken by your own failing or by the severity of your trial. This is the source of your deepest fear. But the connection between us is not like a rope that can be frayed or cut. It is more like the relationship between the sun and its own light, between the ocean and its own waves, between a mind and its own thoughts. You are not a separate entity that I merely observe. You are a unique and beloved expression of my own being. And our connection is one of essence, not just of proximity. Consider the sun and its own beams of light. Can the sun decide to abandon one of its rays? Can a beam of light become an orphan, separate from its source? No, my child. The ray of light is the sun, extending itself, expressing itself, carrying the very nature of the sun within. So it is with you and me. You are a unique and beautiful ray of my own eternal light, extended into the world of time and space. Your very essence is composed of me. To sever you from me would be to extinguish you. And my every intention is for your eternal life, your eternal shining. The darkness you have experienced has been like a cloud passing before the sun, temporarily obscuring your perception of the light. But the cloud has no power to break the connection between the sun and its being. The connection remains constant, unbreakable, real, even when it is unfelt. Consider also the ocean and its own waves. A wave is a beautiful, temporary expression of the ocean's power and immensity. It rises, it crests, it falls. It has its own unique journey. But can a wave ever be truly separate from the ocean? No, it is, and always will be, made of the very substance of the ocean itself. Its entire existence is an expression of the ocean. So it is with you, my child. You are a beautiful, unique wave upon the great ocean of my being. You have your own story, your own journey, your own experience of rising in joy and falling in sorrow. But you are never, ever separate from the boundless ocean of my love that is your source, your substance, and your ultimate home. The feeling of being a small, isolated, and vulnerable wave about to be dashed upon the rocks is a powerful illusion. The truth is that you are, and always have been, a part of the mighty, eternal ocean that cannot be dashed, that cannot be destroyed. This is why my presence is not a feeling. Feelings are like the weather upon the surface of the sea. They change. They are turbulent. They are unreliable. My presence is the deep, serene, unchanging reality of the ocean itself. You have been trying to find me in the fleeting weather of your emotions. And when the weather has been stormy and dark, you have concluded that the ocean itself has disappeared. But I have been there all along, my beloved, as the silent, profound, unshakable depth beneath the surface turmoil, holding you, containing you, ensuring that the storm of your feelings could never, ever destroy the eternal reality of your being in me. This unbreakable nature of my presence is your ultimate security. Your safety does not depend on your ability to feel me. It does not depend on your having perfect faith. It does not depend on your circumstances being peaceful. Your security is an absolute, metaphysical fact, rooted in the very nature of our shared existence. You are in me, and I am in you. This is the truth that dismantles all fear of ultimate abandonment. The world may leave you. People may forsake you. Your own feelings may betray you. But I cannot leave you. It would be a denial of myself. Think of it this way. I am the very space in which your life occurs. The darkness you have known, the pain you have felt, the trials you have endured. None of these have happened in a godless void. They have all taken place within the vast, compassionate container of my own being. I have been the silent, holy space that has held your suffering, the loving awareness that has witnessed your every tear, the unshakable ground that has been beneath you, even when you felt you were in a free fall. It is impossible for you to fall out of my presence, for there's nowhere to fall to. I am all in all. Your experience of my absence has been a profound, painful, but ultimately mistaken interpretation of my silence. You have confused a lack of a particular kind of communication with a lack of presence. You have mistaken a change in the season of your soul for a change in the constancy of your God. But I am the unchanging one. My love for you does not fluctuate. My presence with you does not cease. It is a constant, like the law of gravity, like the air you breathe, a fundamental reality so pervasive, so essential, that you have often been entirely unaware of it. This is the great revelation I offer you now, to heal the deepest wound of all, the wound of feeling forsaken. You are not forsaken. You are held. You are not alone. You were in the most intimate communion possible. You were not abandoned to the darkness. The darkness itself was held within the infinite expanse of my loving, ever-present light. Let your heart rest in this unshakable truth. My child, your connection to me is not a fragile thing that you must struggle to maintain. It is an eternal, unbreakable reality that I, your God, maintain for you. You do not need to fear that you might do something, or that something might happen to you. That could cause me to leave you. I have never left you, and I will never leave you. This is not just a promise. It is a description of the very nature of reality itself, the beautiful, glorious, and unshakable truth of your eternal oneness with me. The very fabric of your being is woven with threads of my own. The life that animates you is a spark of my own fire. The love you are capable of feeling is an echo of my own heart. The consciousness with which you perceive the world is a reflection of my own divine awareness. How, then, could I leave you? It would be like trying to separate the light from a flame, or the wetness from water. Our connection is one of essence. The agony of your perceived absence has served one great and holy purpose. It has created within you a desire so profound, a longing so deep to know this truth of our unbreakable union. The pain of feeling separate has prepared your heart to receive the ecstasy of knowing our eternal oneness. This is not a truth to be understood by the mind alone, but to be received into the very core of your being. It is a truth that heals not just your thoughts, but your very cells. As you allow this reality of my unbreakable presence to saturate your consciousness, the old fears of abandonment will begin to dissolve. The deep-seated anxiety of being alone will begin to ease, and a new and profound sense of peace, of security, of belonging will become your natural, abiding state. The world may offer you conditional connections, relationships that can be broken, but I'll offer you a communion that is eternal, a presence that is absolute. Rest in this, my beloved. You are not a solitary creature, struggling for survival in a hostile universe. You are a cherished, integral part of my own being, eternally held, infinitely loved, and absolutely, unbreakably connected to the very heart of your God. This is the truth, and this truth is your everlasting freedom. When you feel that old, familiar pang of loneliness, I invite you to perform this sacred act of remembrance. Place your hand on your heart, feel its beat, and know that I am closer than that rhythm. Take a breath, and know that I'm more essential than that air. You are not reaching for a distant God. You are awakening to the God who dwells within, the God whose presence is the very life of your soul. This unbreakable presence is a foundation upon which your new life is being built. It is the guarantee that you are safe, that you are loved, and that you can face any future challenge with a new and holy confidence, knowing that you do not face it alone. You face it with me, your constant, loving, and all-powerful companion. And because I am with you, the victory is already assured. My precious child, now that your heart has begun to receive the profound and unshakable truth of my being, that my presence with you is an eternal, unbreakable reality, that for me to leave you would be a metaphysical impossibility, a tender and vulnerable question may still linger in your spirit. But, my God, your heart may whisper, if you have never left me, if our connection is so absolute, then why have I felt so utterly, so desperately alone? Why, in my darkest hours, was my most profound experience one of your complete and total absence? This is the most honest and important question a soul can ask, my beloved, and I receive it not as a challenge, but as a beautiful, open-hearted plea for an understanding that can bridge the gap between your painful human experience and my eternal divine reality. And so, I will answer you with all the love and clarity of my being. You could not feel me, my child, not because I was absent, but because the very conditions of your trial, the overwhelming darkness, the deafening noise of your fear, and the protective numbness of your grief created a temporary spiritual blindness, a sensory deafness of the soul that made my ever-present, intimate reality imperceptible to you. It is crucial that you receive this truth without a single shred of self-blame. Your inability to feel me was not a sign of your spiritual failure or your lack of faith. It was a natural, human, and deeply understandable consequence of being in a profound state of suffering. Let us explore these conditions together so that you may be forever freed from the false belief that your feelings of my absence were a true reflection of my heart towards you. First, let us consider the overwhelming sensory power of the darkness itself, or the darkness of your trial, be it intense grief, chronic pain, deep betrayal, or profound confusion. It's not a passive, empty state. It is an active, all-consuming experience. It is like being caught in a spiritual blizzard or a blinding sandstorm. In such a state, your every sense, both physical and spiritual, becomes entirely consumed with the immediate, overwhelming reality of the storm. Your entire being is focused on survival, on enduring the buffeting winds, on navigating the disorienting lack of visibility. In this state of sensory overload, it becomes almost impossible to perceive anything subtle. My presence, which is often a gentle warmth, a quiet peace, a subtle inner knowing, cannot be registered by a system that is in a state of high alarm. It is not that my warmth is not there. It is that your entire being is consumed with the feeling of the biting cold. It is not that my peace is absent. It is that your soul is entirely preoccupied with the chaos of the storm. You could not feel me for the same reason a person in the midst of a raging inferno cannot feel the gentle warmth of a distant sun. Your pain, your trial, was a fire so close, so hot, that it temporarily consumed your entire capacity for perception, making it impossible for you to feel the constant, gentle, and eternal warmth of my loving presence, which was enfolding you all along. Secondly, you could not feel me because of the deafening inner noise of your own fear. Fear is the natural response to pain, to uncertainty, to the feeling of being in danger. And fear is not quiet. It is a loud, frantic, and chaotic sound in the soul. It screams its catastrophic predictions. It replays its traumatic memories on an endless, high-volume loop. It creates a constant, jarring static of what if that fills every corner of your mind. It is the perpetual alarm bell of a spirit that feels unsafe. My voice, my child, as we have explored, is often a whisper. My presence is often a stillness. How can a whisper be heard over a blaring siren? How can a profound stillness be felt in the midst of a chaotic inner noise? For so long, you have been listening to the loud, urgent, and terrifying voice of your own fear, believing it to be the voice of truth, the voice of reality. And this has made you deaf to the quieter, gentler, more peaceful frequency on which I am always speaking to your heart. My love has been a constant, beautiful, underlying melody, but the static of your fear has often been so loud that you have been unable to hear the music. Again, this is not your failure. It is the natural consequence of a heart that is trying to protect itself, a mind that is trying to make sense of a terrifying situation. Consider, as well, the protective numbness that comes with profound grief. The human spirit is a resilient but also a delicate thing. When a pain is too acute, when a loss is too devastating, the soul, in its divine wisdom, often employs a holy defense mechanism. It becomes numb. It enters a state of spiritual and emotional shock, a blessed anesthetic that prevents the heart from being utterly shattered by an unbearable agony. This numbness is a mercy, my child, a gift of my grace that allows you to survive what might otherwise be unsurvivable. But this protective numbness, while essential, has a side effect. It dulls not only the pain, but all deep feeling. A heart that has been numbed to protect it from the depths of sorrow is also, for a season, numb to the depths of my joy, my peace, and my comforting presence. It is like a hand that has been injected with Novocaine. It cannot feel the pain of the needle, but it also cannot feel the gentle, reassuring caress of a loving touch. Your feeling of my absence, especially in times of deep grief, has often been a sign not of my distance, a testament to the profound depth of the wound that your own beautiful spirit, with my help, was trying to survive. You did not feel my touch because, for your own protection, you were temporarily unable to feel anything deeply at all. And finally, my beloved, you have often been unable to feel me because your human expectations were looking for a different kind of presence. You may have been looking for me to show up as a dramatic intervention, a sudden removal of all your problems, a loud, undeniable miracle. You may have been looking for a feeling of ecstatic joy, a powerful emotional experience like one you have had in the past. And when I did not come in the form you were expecting, when I did not meet your preconceived notion of how a loving God should act, you concluded that I had not come at all. But all the while, I was present in a different, quieter, more profound way. I was present as an unshakable strength that enabled you to endure one more day. I was present as the quiet resilience that helped you to get back up after you had fallen. I was present as a silent companion who sat with you in your darkest night. Sharing your sorrow, I was present as the deep, underground river of life, sustaining your roots even when your surface was barren. You were looking for the earthquake, the fire, the mighty wind, and in your focus on the spectacular, you missed my still, small voice. You were looking for the divine rescuer to pull you out of the darkness, and you missed the divine companion who was with you in it. Your expectation, though sincere, created a form of spiritual blindness, causing you to overlook the very presence you so deeply craved. So you see, my precious child, your experience of my absence was not a reflection of my reality, but a consequence of your own profoundly human, and often painful, reality. The darkness was too overwhelming, the fear too loud, the grief too numbing, and your own expectations too specific for you to always perceive the constant, intimate, and unwavering presence that was your truest and most foundational reality. Let this understanding wash away all self-blame, all fear that you have somehow failed me or that your faith has been inadequate. Your journey has been a human one, and I have honored its every beautiful, painful, and authentic moment. And now, as the darkness of your trial begins to lift, as the noise of your fear begins to quieten, as the numbness of your grief begins to thaw, your spiritual senses are reawakening, and you are now being invited into a new season, a new capacity to feel, to perceive, and to know with an unshakable certainty the glorious and beautiful truth that I have never, ever left you. The greatest illusion you have labored under is the belief that your feelings are the ultimate arbiter of truth. Because you felt alone, you believed you were alone, but I am teaching you a deeper way of knowing, a knowing that is rooted not in your fluctuating human emotions, but in the unchanging, eternal reality of my character and my covenant with you. My presence is a fact, not a feeling, and learning to rest in that fact, even when the feeling is absent, is the beginning of a truly mature and unshakable faith. The night has been a powerful teacher. It has taught you the limits of your own senses, the unreliability of your own feelings as a guide to ultimate truth. And in doing so, it has prepared you to trust in me, to trust in my word, to trust in the reality of my presence in a way that is no longer dependent on what you can see, hear, or feel. This is a profound gift, a liberation from the tyranny of your own emotional state. You are moving now from a faith that says, I will believe you are with me when I feel you, to a faith that declares, I will believe you are with me, especially when I cannot feel you, for your promise is more real than my pain. This, my child, is the faith that delights my heart, the faith that moves mountains, the faith that is the very substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, and is a faith that you have so beautifully, so courageously cultivated in the very heart of your darkest night. My precious child, having explored together the sacred reasons why my unbreakable presence has so often been unfelt by your hurting heart, why the very intensity of your trial has created a temporary veil between your perception and my constant reality. Let us now speak of what I have been doing within that very silence, behind that very veil, for you have feared that my perceived absence was also a period of my inactivity, that while you were lost in your darkest night, nothing of value was being accomplished. But I must reveal to you now the profound, purposeful, and ceaseless labor of my love on your behalf. My presence with you has not been a passive state. My beloved, it has been a time of my most focused and intricate work. In the silence, you have so lamented. My unseen hand has been protecting you, strengthening you, and meticulously preparing both you and your circumstances for the glorious new chapter that is to come. You have felt as though you have been in a barren, empty room, waiting for a door to open. But in truth, you have been in a holy and active workshop, a divine studio where a masterpiece was being crafted. The silence was not emptiness. It was the quiet concentration of the master artisan at work while you felt stagnant. A profound and dynamic process of creation and restoration was underway. Let me show you the nature of this unseen work, this labor of my love in your time of obscurity. Firstly, my child, my unseen work has been one of profound and constant protection. You have felt the full force of your trial. Yes, and it has been immense. But I tell you a truth that your spirit knows, but your mind may doubt you have not experienced the full, unfiltered, destructive potential of the darkness that has assailed you. My loving presence has been your secret shield, your invisible fortress, a divine buffer between your tender soul and the absolute annihilation that the forces of despair and chaos would seek to inflict. Imagine a skilled and loving engineer who designs a deep-sea vessel. They know the immense pressures of the abyss the vessel must endure. And so, they build the hull with an integrity, a strength that is far greater than what seems necessary on the surface. When the vessel descends into the crushing darkness, the occupants feel the immense pressure. Yes, but the hull holds. The integrity of the design protects them from being instantly crushed. So it has been with me and you, my child. I am your designer, and my love has been the very integrity of your spiritual hull. The pressure of your despair has been immense, but my presence has surrounded you, has contained you, and has prevented your spirit from imploding under a weight that would have otherwise been unbearable. I have been with you, absorbing the shocks, deflecting the most lethal blows, and ensuring that your core, eternal essence, remained utterly safe and untouched. Secondly, while you have felt at your weakest, I have been engaged in the unseen work of your spiritual fortification. I have not been content to merely protect you. I have been using this very season to build a new and more resilient strength within you. The very darkness you have endured has been my sacred training ground for your soul, while you perceived only struggle. I was overseeing a profound regimen of spiritual strengthening, like a wise and patient coach. I have been working with your spiritual muscles, the weight of your sorrow, which has felt so heavy, has been the very resistance that has been strengthening your capacity for compassion and resilience. The long distance of your wearying trial has been building your spiritual endurance, your capacity to persevere in faith. Every time you have cried out to me in your weakness and have found the grace to endure for one more moment, you have been cooperating with this unseen work of fortification. I have been strengthening your foundations, deepening your roots, tempering your spirit in the fires of adversity. You have felt you are being broken down, but in reality, you have been in a process of being built up from the inside out, fashioned into a warrior of light with a strength that is no longer dependent on circumstance, but is rooted in the very character of your God. And thirdly, my beloved, while your life has felt stalled and directionless, my unseen hand has been engaged in the intricate and far-reaching work of loving preparation for your future. I am a God who sees the end from the beginning, and I have been at work in your now to prepare the way for your glorious then. This preparation has been both internal and external. Internally, as we have seen, I have been healing you and strengthening you, making you into a vessel that is capable of receiving and stewarding the magnificent blessings I have planned for you. But my work has also been external, a divine orchestration of circumstances beyond your sight. While you have been in your season of quiet waiting, I have been moving in the hearts of others who will be a part of your next chapter. I have been arranging opportunities, clearing pathways, and setting the stage for your triumphant entry into a new season of purpose and joy. Imagine a loving father secretly building a beautiful new home for his family while they are living in a small, temporary dwelling, feeling perhaps that their situation is limited and unchanging. The father is joyfully at work, laying the foundations, raising the walls, and preparing a place of abundance and beauty for them. They are unaware of his labor, seeing only their present, constrained reality. But his work is real. It is purposeful, and it is all for them. So it has been with me, my child. Your season of feeling forgotten, of feeling that nothing is happening, has been the very season of my most intense, loving, behind-the-scenes construction on your behalf. I have been preparing your future. I have been aligning all the necessary elements. I have been crafting a new chapter for you, a chapter of such beauty and fulfillment that it has required this long and secret period of divine preparation. This is the glorious truth of your silent season. My beloved, it has not been a time of emptiness, but a time of profound, purposeful, and loving divine activity. You have not been abandoned. You have been the subject of my most focused, creative attention. My silence has not been indifference. It has been the quiet concentration of the master craftsman at work on his most precious creation. And my apparent absence has been the very veil that has shielded this sacred, transformative work from a world that would not understand, and from a premature exposure that could have hindered its perfect unfolding. Let this understanding bring a deep and settled peace to your soul. Release the fear that time has been wasted, that your life has been on hold. Nothing could be further from the truth. You have been in the very center of my will, in the very heart of my creative process, and the work that has been done in the unseen, the work of your protection, your fortification, and your preparation is the absolute guarantee of the beauty, the strength, and the glory of the new life that is about to be revealed. You have never been left. You have only ever been loved, held, and prepared. Every part of this hidden work is a testament to my love. My protection shows that I value you beyond measure and will not allow you to be destroyed. My strengthening shows that I believe in you, that I see you as a being of immense potential, capable of embodying my own divine strength. And my preparation shows that I have a magnificent, glorious future planned for you, a future so wonderful that it is worthy of this meticulous, divine, and loving labor. The world judges by what it can see. And so it has judged your season of darkness as a time of loss. But I judge by the realities of the Spirit, by the unseen work of grace. And I tell you that this has been a season of immeasurable gain, the treasures that have been forged within you, the preparations that have been made for you in the unseen realm are of an eternal and incalculable worth. When you look back on this time, do not see an empty space. See my workshop. Do not remember a painful silence. Remember the focused, loving concentration of the divine artisan. Do not feel the ache of being forgotten. Feel, instead, the profound honor of being the secret, cherished project of the very heart of God. For this is the truth. I have never left you. I have only been at work, in secret, for your eternal good. My precious child, now that you have begun to understand that my perceived absence was, in fact, a season of my most intense, loving, and hidden work on your behalf, a time of protection, of fortification, of preparation, the glorious moment now arrives when the fruits of this unseen labor begin to touch the shores of your conscious awareness. After the long and desolate winter of your soul, where you felt only the cold and the silence, the first signs of a divine spring begin to emerge. These are the first stirrings of my nearness. The initial, subtle yet undeniable, sensations that begin to penetrate the veil of your pain and announce the eternal truth of my constant companionship. These are the moments when your experience begins to catch up with my reality. As you begin to feel, for the first time, the truth I have been declaring all along, I have never left you. These first stirrings are often as gentle as the whisper of my voice, as subtle as the first thaw after a long frost. The spiritual senses, having been numbed by the trauma of your trial, reawaken slowly, tenderly. But I invite you now to become a hopeful and attentive observer of your own inner world, to watch for these precious heralds of your renewed perception, for they are my love notes to your heart, the tangible proof that you are not alone, and the beautiful beginning of your journey back into the full, felt experience of my presence. Perhaps the very first stirring of my nearness you will perceive is a moment of uncause, profound peace. You may be in the very midst of your struggle, your mind wrestling with the same old fears, your heart aching with its familiar sorrow, and then, without any change in your external circumstances, a wave of deep and holy calm will wash over your spirit. The inner chaos will momentarily cease. The frantic energy of your anxiety will be stilled. And in that sacred pause, you will feel a sense of being held, of being safe, of all being well at a level that transcends your immediate problems. This, my child, is not a psychological coping mechanism. This is the very atmosphere of my being, the tangible peace of my presence, finally breaking through the static of your pain. It is the first and most powerful evidence that you are not in an empty void, but are held within a greater presence, a presence whose very nature is peace. You may also begin to experience the beautiful, comforting stirring of feeling held in the depths of your loneliness. As you have wept with a feeling of utter abandonment, you may suddenly, inexplicably, feel a sense of being enfolded, embraced, and supported by an unseen love. It may be a feeling of warmth that spreads through your chest, a sensation of an invisible hand upon your shoulder, or simply an intuitive knowing that you are not bearing your sorrow alone, but that a loving companion is sitting with you in the darkness, sharing the weight of your grief. This is not your imagination, my child. This is your spirit, its senses reawakening, beginning to perceive the reality of my arms that have been around you all along. This is the feeling of my nearness, transforming your desolate solitude into a shared, sacred intimacy. This felt sense of being held is my direct answer to your deepest fear of being forsaken. Look also for the stirring of a new kind of hope, a hope that is born of companionship. For so long, your hope may have been a thin, desperate thing, a fragile wish for your circumstances to change. But the hope that now begins to emerge is of a different quality. It is a hope rooted not in the possibility of a changing future, but in the reality of a present companion. The thought begins to dawn in your heart, even if this darkness continues, I am not alone in it. Even if this trial does not end tomorrow, I have one who will walk with me through it. This is a profound shift. It is a hope that is not dependent on outcomes, but on my presence. It is a buoyant hope, a resilient hope, a hope that brings with it a new courage and a new strength. For the journey through any darkness is made infinitely more bearable when you know you are not walking it alone. This flicker of accompanied hope is one of the most precious stirrings of all, for it signals that you are moving from a faith that hopes for me to a faith that rests in me. And you will notice a subtle shift in the very quality of your silence, the silence that was once so deafening, so filled with the roar of absence and the echoes of your own despair, may begin to feel different. It may become softer, more peaceful. You may find moments where the quiet no longer feels like an emptiness, but like a gentle, loving presence. This is the sound of you beginning to hear my own silent companionship. You are learning that my presence is not always a voice, but is often a deep, resonant, and loving stillness. And as you become more comfortable in this new, shared silence, you will find it to be a place of profound rest, of healing, and of intimate communion, a sanctuary where your soul can be restored in the quiet company of your God. These first stirrings of my nearness, my beloved, are the initial, beautiful proofs that you have never been alone. They are the first cracks in the dam of your perceived separation, allowing the living waters of my presence to begin to flow into your conscious awareness once more. They are the first rays of dawn, heralding the end of your long night. I invite you to treat these moments as the sacred treasures they are. Do not dismiss them. Do not doubt them. When you feel that moment of peace, that sensation of being held, that flicker of buoyant hope, that shift in the silence, pause, acknowledge it, Receive it with a grateful heart. Whisper a prayer of thanks. By honoring these initial stirrings, you are telling your own soul that they are real. You are strengthening your spiritual senses. You are creating a more receptive heart, which will enable you to perceive my presence with ever-increasing clarity, consistency, and joy. This is a beautiful and tender reawakening, my child, and I am with you, patiently, lovingly guiding you through it. I am teaching you to recognize the signs of my nearness, to feel the reality of my embrace, to know, in your own experience, the glorious and unshakable truth of my promise. The long winter of your felt absence is ending. The spring of our conscious companionship is at hand. And these first, beautiful stirrings are the undeniable evidence that you have never, ever, truly been alone. As you practice this new attentiveness, you will discover my presence in more and more places. You will feel my companionship not just in your moments of quiet prayer, but in the midst of your busy day. You will feel my strength not just when you are at your lowest, but as a constant, underlying support for all that you do. The unseen spaces will become less unseen as your spiritual eyes adjust to the ever-present light of my being. The world has taught you to trust only what your five senses can perceive. But you are now learning to trust a deeper sense, the sense of the heart, the intuition of the spirit. And this sense is now beginning to perceive its truest, most constant reality, my nearness. This is a journey from believing to knowing, from hoping to experiencing. Do not be discouraged if the old feelings of loneliness sometimes try to return. The memory of the darkness can be a powerful one. But now you have a new set of memories to draw upon, the memory of that moment of peace, the memory of that feeling of being held. Cling to these new, true memories. Let them be your anchor. They are the proof that the old reality is giving way to the new. Your entire relationship with solitude is being transformed. It is no longer a place of fear and abandonment, but a place of potential intimacy and communion. You are learning that being by yourself does not mean you are alone. This is a liberating and empowering truth that will bring a profound peace and confidence to your life. The stirrings of my nearness are the beginning of this beautiful, life-altering transformation. Every time you choose to believe in one of these subtle stirrings over the loud evidence of your past pain, you are casting a vote for your own healing, for your own liberation from the prison of loneliness. You are siding with my truth over the world's illusion. And this, my child, is an act of profound and beautiful faith. These stirrings are my love, knocking on the door of your conscious awareness, inviting you to open it wider and to let me in, not just as a concept, but as a felt, lived, and joyful reality. The more you open that door, the more the light and the warmth of my presence will flood your being until the very memory of the cold, dark, lonely room is washed away in the glorious sunshine of our eternal, conscious companionship. The stirring is the promise of the flood of my love that is to come. This is the beginning of the end of your greatest trial, the trial of believing you are separate from me. All other trials are manageable when you know you are not alone. And this knowing is what these first stirrings are now birthing within you. Welcome them, my beloved. They are the tender, beautiful, and miraculous beginning of your new life of constant, conscious, and joyful companionship with me, my beloved child. As you begin to perceive those first precious stirrings of my nearness, as the reality of my presence begins to break through the long and painful illusion of your isolation, I now invite you to embark upon the most beautiful and life-altering journey of all. It is a journey of learning to consciously live in my abiding love, of learning to rest in and draw from the eternal truth that you are never, ever alone. This is a profound shift, my child, from merely surviving your perceived abandonment to joyfully thriving in the reality of our sacred companionship. It is the art of transforming your core identity, of learning to see yourself no longer as the one who was left, but as the one who is and always will be, eternally, lovingly, and completely accompanied. For so long, your life has been shaped by the painful assumption of my absence. You have made your decisions from a place of fear, believing you had to protect yourself. You have navigated your relationships from a place of need, hoping to find in others the security you felt you lacked from me. You have faced your challenges with a sense of solitary struggle, believing you had only your own finite resources to draw upon. This has been an exhausting and heavy way to live. But now, armed with the dawning awareness of my constant presence, you are invited to learn a new way, a way of peace, of security, a profound and overflowing grace. You are invited to learn to live in my abiding love. How do you begin this sacred learning? My child, it starts with the conscious and courageous shift of your core identity. This is the foundational work. For years, you have identified yourself as the one who is alone, the one who was forsaken. This identity has become a deep groove in your soul, a familiar, though painful, story. Now, you must choose, with a gentle but persistent act of your will, to step out of that old story and into the new, true one. You must begin to identify yourself as the one who is eternally accompanied, the one who is held in the constant presence of God. When the old feelings of loneliness arise, as they will from habit, you must meet them not as the ultimate truth, but as echoes from a past that is no longer your reality. You can acknowledge the feeling with compassion. There is that old feeling of being alone. And then you can speak a greater truth to your own heart. But the truth is, I am not alone. My God has never left me. I am held in his abiding love. This is a conscious realignment of your identity, a choosing to believe my eternal truth over your temporary feelings. It is the act of taking off the shabby, tear-stained garment of abandon and clothing yourself in the radiant, royal robe of beloved companion. Secondly, learning to live in my abiding love involves the beautiful practice of making your communion with me a constant, running dialogue. You have thought of prayer, perhaps as a formal activity, a time you set aside to speak to a distant God. But I am not distant. I am closer than your own breath. And so, our conversation does not need to be confined to specific times or places. I invite you now to practice an ongoing, moment-by-moment communion with me, your ever-present friend. As you walk through your day, share your thoughts with me. When you see something beautiful, turn your heart to me in silent gratitude. When you face a small frustration, Offer it to me with a sigh of trust. When you have a decision to make, ask for my wisdom in that very moment. This is not a burden. It is a lightness, a joy. It transforms your inner world from a place of solitary thinking into a beautiful, shared space of loving conversation. It turns mundane tasks into acts of worship and difficult moments into opportunities for deeper intimacy. As you practice this constant turning of your heart towards me, you will find that the feeling of loneliness simply has no room to take root, for your awareness will be filled with the joyful reality of my companionship. From this place of conscious companionship, you will then learn to actively draw your strength, your peace, and your wisdom from me. In the past, when faced with a challenge, your first instinct may have been to rely on your own resources and to only cry out to me when those resources were exhausted. But now, I invite you to a new reflex. Let your first movement in any situation be to turn inward and to draw from the infinite wellspring of my presence within you. When you feel weak, consciously say, I have no strength for this, but my companion does. I receive your strength now. When you feel anxious, consciously breathe and say, my companion is the Prince of Peace. I receive your peace now into this situation. When you feel confused, consciously quiet your own mind and say, my companion is the source of all wisdom. I receive your clarity now. This is not just positive thinking. My child, it is a profound spiritual transaction. It is you, actively drawing upon the divine resources that are your inheritance as my child. It is learning to live not from your own finite, easily depleted account, but from the infinite, overflowing treasury of my grace. As you learn to do this, you will discover a new confidence, a new capacity, a new and victorious way of moving through the world, empowered not by your own striving, but by my constant, indwelling life. And all of this, my beloved, will lead you into a life of profound and joyful security. The core fear that has haunted you, the fear of being alone and having to face the world on your own, is now being healed at its very root, for you are discovering in your own experience that you are never on your own. You are eternally, lovingly, and powerfully accompanied. This knowing becomes your unshakable foundation, your fortress of peace. This new security will allow you to live with a new freedom. You will be free to love more generously, for you are no longer operating from a place of relational poverty. You will be free to take new, inspired risks, for you know that you are not alone, and that even if you stumble, my hand is there to catch you. You will be free to be your authentic self, for your sense of worth is no longer dependent on the approval of others, but is rooted in the constant, loving affirmation of my presence with you. This is the beautiful, liberating life that your season of darkness has prepared you for. It is a life lived in conscious, joyful, moment by moment communion with me. It is a life where solitude is transformed into a sweet sanctuary of intimacy, where challenges become opportunities for deeper reliance on me, and where your heart is perpetually at rest in the unshakable knowledge that you are seen, you are known, you are cherished, and you have never, ever been left. This is the art of living in my abiding love, my child, and it is the most joyful, most peaceful, and most powerful way to live. This learning is a gentle process. I am a patient teacher. There will be days when the old habits of feeling alone will be strong. But do not be discouraged. Simply return your focus to the truth. Return to the practice of acknowledging my presence. Your journey is not about achieving a state of perfection where you never feel a pang of loneliness again. It is about knowing, with an unshakable certainty, what to do when that feeling arises, to immediately turn to me, your constant companion, and to find your reality in my presence, not in your fleeting feeling. Every time you choose to live from this truth, you are strengthening it. You are carving anew beautiful pathways of grace in your own soul. You are rewiring your very being to live from a place of divine connection rather than from a place of perceived separation. This is the great gift that was hidden in your darkest night, the discovery of my unbreakable presence. The pain of the experience was the very thing that made you desperate enough to seek for a reality beyond your feelings, a truth beyond your circumstances. And in that seeking, you have found me in a way that you could never have known in a life of uninterrupted ease. So embrace this learning. My child, practice living as one who is eternally accompanied. Talk to me, lean on me, draw from me, and you will find that the agony of my apparent absence is being completely and gloriously replaced by the profound, abiding, and joyful reality of a life lived forever in my unbreakable, loving presence. The world builds its security on things that can be lost. You are now learning to build your life on the one reality that can never be taken from you, my presence. This is the only true security, the only lasting peace. It is the pearl of great price, and your journey through the darkness has led you to its discovery. Cherish this new way of living. It is the most precious fruit of your trial. It is the fulfillment of my deepest desire for you. For I did not create you to be an orphan, but a beloved child, walking in constant, joyful, and intimate communion with your Father. And this, my beloved, is now your new and everlasting reality, my precious child, as you learn to consciously live in my abiding love, as you practice the sacred art of shifting your identity from the one who was left to the one who is eternally accompanied. The beautiful and glorious outcome of this profound transformation begins to blossom in every area of your life. The painful experience of solitude is now redeemed, transfigured into the joyful reality of sacred companionship. And from this new foundation of knowing, with an unshakable certainty that you have never been and will never be alone, flows a life of profound peace, of authentic freedom, and of beautiful, effortless purpose. This, my beloved, is the joy of a life never alone, the magnificent inheritance for which your journey through the darkness has so perfectly prepared you. The long agonizing night of your perceived abandonment is over, and the day that now dawns is one of a completely new quality, a new reality. It is a life lived from a center of absolute security, a life free from the deepest and most primal of all human fears, the fear of being utterly alone. Let us now explore together the beautiful landscape of this new life, this joyful existence that is your new and everlasting home. First and foremost, you will experience this new reality as a profound and unshakable peace. for so long. The very foundation of your being has been unsettled, shaken by the terrifying possibility that you are adrift in a meaningless cosmos, that your ultimate end was one of solitary despair. This foundational fear was the source of so much of your anxiety, your striving, your inner turmoil. But now, that very foundation has been miraculously replaced. The shifting sands of your perceived aloneness have been swept away, and your life is now built upon the unshakable bedrock of my eternal, unbreakable presence. This knowledge, my child, brings with it a peace that the world can neither give nor take away. It is a peace that does not depend on your circumstances being calm, or on your relationships being perfect, or on your future being certain. It is a peace that abides even in the midst of storms, for you now know that you have a companion, an anchor, a fortress that is infinitely more powerful than any storm. The old, frantic need to control your world, to manage every outcome, begin to dissolve, for you know that your life is held in the hands of a loving, all-powerful, and ever-present God. This is the peace of ultimate surrender, the serene tranquility of a soul that knows it is, and always will be, perfectly, completely safe. From this deep peace flows a new and glorious freedom. The chains that once bound you, my child, the chain of your fear of abandonment, the chain of your need for human approval, the chain of your shame and your unworthiness, were all forged in the fires of your perceived aloneness. But now, as you learn to live in the constant, loving light of my presence, these chains have been melted away, and you are free. You are free from the exhausting burden of trying to be someone you are not in order to earn love or acceptance. For you know now that you are unconditionally loved and accepted by me, just as you are. This frees you to be your most authentic, most vulnerable, most beautifully real self. You are free from the paralyzing fear of rejection, for your ultimate sense of belonging is no longer dependent on any human being, but is securely rooted in your eternal belonging to me. This frees you to love more openly, to connect more deeply, to engage with the world not from a place of fear, but from a place of love. And you are free from the tyranny of your past, from the fear that your old wounds or your past failures will forever define you. For you know that you are held in a presence that is always making all things new, a love that is always redeeming, always restoring, always calling you forward into a new and more glorious future. This is the magnificent, expansive freedom of a child of God who knows their true home. And in this new reality of peace and freedom, you will discover a life of joyful partnership and effortless purpose. The old, lonely struggle of trying to figure out your life, of trying to forge your own path, is over, for you now walk in a constant, loving dialogue with me, your divine partner, your wisest counselor, your most faithful guide. Your life is no longer a solo performance, but a beautiful, co-creative dance. You will find your purpose unfolding naturally, gracefully. From this place of intimate communion, it will not be something you must strive for, but something that flows from you as the natural expression of your true, restored self in partnership with my spirit. The small, daily choices will be guided by my quiet whispers. The larger, life-altering decisions will be made in a spirit of peaceful, trusting collaboration. and your actions in the world will be imbued with a new power, a new effectiveness, for they will no longer be born of your own limited strength, but of the infinite power of my grace flowing through you. Your life becomes a beautiful adventure, a joyful exploration as we walk together, hand in hand, discovering the magnificent story that I'm writing for, and with you. And finally, my beloved, a life lived in the conscious awareness of never being alone becomes a radiant sanctuary of peace for others. Because your own deep need for presence has been so profoundly met in me, you are now free to be a true, non-anxious, and healing presence for others. You no longer engage with them from a place of your own emptiness, seeking to have them fill your void. Instead, you engage with them from the overflow of your own fullness, from the deep well of peace and love that you have discovered in your communion with me. Your presence will become a comfort to the lonely, a calm to the anxious, a source of quiet strength to the weary. People will be drawn to the peace that you carry, to the light that shines in your eyes, to the gentle love that emanates from your being. And you will be able to offer them the greatest gift of all, a living testament to the truth that they, too, are not alone, that there is a love in your presence waiting to be discovered in the depths of their own hearts. Your own healed loneliness becomes the medicine for the loneliness of the world. Your personal discovery becomes a universal hope. This is the glorious joy of a life never alone. My child, it is the beautiful, interconnected reality for which you were created. The divine inheritance that your journey through the darkness has now enabled you to receive. The agony of my apparent absence has been completely and utterly redeemed, transformed into the very experience that has opened your heart to the profound, life-altering, and eternal joy of my constant, conscious, and loving presence. Welcome to your new life. My beloved, it is a life of peace, of freedom, of purpose, of joy. It is a life where every moment is shared, every burden is carried together, every joy is multiplied. It is a life lived in the unshakable security, the profound intimacy, and the beautiful, harmonious rhythm of our eternal companionship. You have come home, my child. You have come home to the truth that you have never left and will never leave, the very heart of your loving, ever-present God. This new life is not a denial of the reality of human relationships, but a purification of them. You will love others more deeply, more purely, because you no longer need them to be your God. You can enjoy their companionship with a new freedom, knowing that your ultimate companion is constant and unchanging. This new life is not an escape from the world, but a new way of being in it. You will walk through the same world, but you will no longer be a victim of its fears, its anxieties, its illusions of separation. You will walk as an ambassador of a different kingdom, the kingdom of my peace, which you carry now within your own heart. And this new life is a life of continual unfolding. The joy, the peace, the intimacy you know now is but a foretaste of the even greater depths of communion, the even more glorious expressions of our partnership that await you as you continue to walk with me. Our journey together is an eternal one, and it only becomes more beautiful. Rest in this joy. My beloved, it is your truth. It is your reality. It is my gift to you. the beautiful, triumphant outcome of a journey that began in the agony of absence and has culminated in the everlasting ecstasy of my abiding presence. As the gentle reality of our eternal companionship now fills your heart with a peace that surpasses all understanding, my cherished child, let this truth be your everlasting sanctuary. The agonizing memory of feeling utterly alone, of being abandoned in your darkest night, has now been healed and redeemed by the glorious revelation of my constant, unwavering presence. You have learned that your feelings of my absence were but a painful illusion, born of a trial so deep it temporarily obscured your senses to the truth of my nearness. You have discovered that my presence is not a distant hope, but a reality closer than your own breath. A love that has never, for a single instant, left your side. And in awakening to this truth, you have moved from a life of solitary struggle to one of joyful, sacred companionship. Rest now in this beautiful fellowship. My beloved, you are seen, you are known, you are cherished, and you are eternally, wonderfully accompanied. You are never, ever alone. This is the promise, the truth, and the reality of my heart for you, now and forevermore.